Who's up for a semantic argument? Normally I'd chew my own leg off to avoid one, because when viewpoints depend on which way you hold the dictionary, you're in the epistemic wasteland containing the what is a game debate and degrees in philosophy. But there is a word we use in the nerdier end of gaming that requires revision. We had a lot of fun waving it around, but it means as much as the phrase exclusive to Xbox. When they were developing Pillars of Eternity, I don't think Obsidian expected their handling of the word quest to become a defining feature, but non-standard application of standard vocabulary inspired excitement and the childlike enjoyment that I associate with my earliest games. Pillars splits its quests 3 ways. Your story, your own personal business no random peasant can muscle in on, isn't specifically labelled a quest. It is, as all heroic tales are, named, The Hollowing of the Deerwood. Below this is the second tier, simply quests. Here you find your dragon slaying, your coups, and your companions' internal conflicts. These quests have multiple phases, stages on a mission whose end is distant and uncertain at the outset. You're gonna be working for your +5 semantic boots. One tier lower, in a fit of linguistic inspiration, Obsidian give us tasks. Playing courier, finding things, gathering bits for NPCs who are old enough to fend for themselves. They don't inspire awe, but they are billed as distractions, just something to pick up when you're in town. It seems so minor, but this single semantic distinction between quests and tasks had enormous influence over my enjoyment of what I was being told to do. The Oxford English Dictionary definition of a quest is a long or difficult search, but having grown up on a diet of Tolkien and D&D, I've come to understand it as a long, difficult, and fucking cool search. I have come to expect, nay, demand, that my quests involve peril, great journeys, and general badassery. Instead, as any MMO player will attest to, you trot up to each new village adorned in weaponry, clad in the skulls of your enemies, and known throughout the land as the Breaker of Worlds, only to be ordered off picking 5 mushrooms. Now, before you stop watching, allow me to assure you that this is not another attack on fetch quests. This is not an anti-fetch quest video. You know, when year-old B games are making fun of a concept, it's had enough of a public thrashing. No, discussing the worth of fetch quests sounds all too involved. This is a low-fat semantic argument, and I semantically say that every quest, no matter how noble, epic, literary, cinematic, or AAA it may be, is, in its own way, a fetch quest. The search for the Holy Grail was a fetch quest. Even if we tone down the hyperbole, any quest can be categorized as go to place, do the thing, or do the thing for some time. That's it. Defeating Dark Souls bosses is going to place, doing the thing. Escorting a fuckwit NPC for no good reason is doing the thing for a length of time. Getting 5 mushrooms involves going to place, doing the thing. Every quest we have ever been asked to embark on is the same damn process. The epicness which we attach to these universally rote tasks is dependent on how well this framework is hidden from the player, either by narrative or skill requirement. JRPGs offer particularly fine examples of narrative trickery, being traditionally rather grindy, but not to the extent that players down controllers and go play outside. Despite basic moment-to-moment interaction, the story tells you that these actions contribute to a much greater cause. Final Fantasy XII is my personal flavour of the month, and if you're still dead set on playing it 9 years after it came out, then spoilers. Right. Final Fantasy XII, as those left of you know, is Star Wars, so the main quest boils down to destroy Empire. At the outset, of course, you've got no idea. This is the long-term plan. Your first objective is go to Miguelos, that is, go to place. To do that, you first have to kill 3 rats, completing your first do the thing en route. Now imagine you had to kill 3 rats, talk to Miguelo 100 times over, then the credits rolled. That would suck, right? You wouldn't feel like you'd achieved anything. Actually, that's exactly what Final Fantasy has you do. Your next task is go to pub, collect supplies. The difference is that that loop can't be closed until kill the rogue tomato is done. This go to place, do the thing, has a second do the thing nested in the middle. The ways in which you interact with the world are identical. Next objective, rob the palace. But you can't rob the palace until you get the crescent stone from Old Dallin in Lowtown. But you can't get the crescent stone from Old Dallin until you've gone to Giza Plains to get a sunstone. But you can't get the sunstone until you find Jinn. You can't return Jinn until you've charged the shade stone. But after what feels like some more involved legwork than you've encountered so far, you get the crescent stone. And then there are further loops lurking on the way to robbing the palace. You have to traverse the Garum South waterway and solve the palace puzzle, then get back through the waterway beating 2 bosses on the way. And that, incidentally, is the skill component of epicality, a task made interesting by its difficulty. Finally, you're captured, completing do the thing, rob the palace. I could have replaced all of these steps with go place, kill rats. These actions are all the same, but narrative begets epicness by nesting these basic tasks so deeply within each other that they become difficult to distinguish and you feel as if you are on an organic and epic quest. No shit, you say. Narrative context matters. Could that be more obvious? No, it couldn't, and that's the point. Well presented to the player, there is nothing systemically wrong with fetch quests. We're on fetch quests every minute of the grandest RPG. The problem, the reason that quest for 5 mushrooms sounds so resoundingly stupid is semantic and obvious. That single word quest. The juxtaposition of fetch and quest is laughable. The disconnect between the epic connotations of the word quest next to a single undisguised do the thing is obscene. It's false advertising that engenders resentment. The quest giver doesn't want a hero, they want internet shopping. For the full length of Pillars of Eternity, I was asked to fetch things, to find missing children that were just over there, to see what had happened to shipments and make unglamorous deliveries. But never did I feel cheesed off, as if this was somehow filler content just there to pad out the game. Because in labelling its fetch quests tasks, its multi-phase adventures quests, and its all-important narrative arc, the hollowing of the Deerwood, I was never missold. Sure, I'm the frickin' Watcher of Souls, but I've got 10 minutes, I'll go get 5 mushrooms. I don't care much for the lives of villagers, but it's not like they've asked me to go on a quest. It's a tiny, psychological, purely semantic distinction. But by refiling fetching under an honest label, Pillars of Eternity helped me to find enjoyment in the little things, and gave quests their proper meaning. As those of you who follow me on Twitter and Facebook will know, I am in the middle of changing jobs and moving house, which is why I have the approximate video output of the 18th century. For those of you who don't follow me on Twitter and Facebook, I shall overlook it this once and simply inform you that it's at rerollgaming and /reroll.angusgmorrison. I will see you soon with a review of The Witcher 3.